I hope this took off some lethargy that I might have set in, because I'll try my best to make this topic a little bit more interesting, because this has nothing to do with concrete, cement, roads or anything. It's about trees. To begin with it, by show of hands, how many of you love trees here? Oh, great. I'm in the right room then. Great. Awesome. So trees and cities obviously go together. You don't want to live in a city where there are no trees. So this is a Mumbai city, South Mumbai particularly, and you can see there's a lot of green, but at the same time there's a lot more concrete and a lot of trees also in there. And what makes our trees, our cities livable? It's the trees that makes our cities livable. Imagine going to a city where there are hardly any trees, and you are made to do a lot of sightseeing in that city, and you just wouldn't want to do it, right? So trees are a very integral part of our cities. And why they are? Because they reduce urban heat. I don't have to teach you what urban heat is, because you all are engineers, you understand what happens due to excessive concretization and urban heat is created, and trees help exactly mitigate that. It also helps improve air quality. This is also a no-brainer. We are seeing all the repercussions of constructions and air pollution in the city, the bad air quality that we have. And trees are the one organisms which help improve the air quality of the area. It also helps improve the mental well-being of our people. You know, if you don't believe me, just look outside the window. You know, you can see beautiful trees and tell me you're stressed by looking at that view. It also helps increase property value. This is very important for business owners and project owners, because people think trees are a liability and it's costing me money. But the more trees you have in your property, I'm not talking about the trees that you plant after your construction, but I'm talking about the trees which you retain in your project during the construction. Those trees will help increase your property value. This is one of my favorite pictures from Pune city, and a lot of contrast. I think you can easily make out that contrast quickly. Big trees on the side of the road. At the same time, there's a nice social message on the side saying, don't cut trees, we need trees. So it's a nice contrast. I like to bring this out in the first 5 minutes of a presentation. And I understand the challenges that you as engineers and a project manager that have to go through in managing trees while building big roads and building big buildings and everything. And we understand the challenges that you have, specifically working in a complex urban environment. So it's one of the speakers just previously mentioned that they had to deal with 42 utility companies just to construct a road. I would say you have to now deal with 43 plus 1. Trees also are part of infrastructure now. So you need to think about those trees as well. You also have a lot of limited space. This is totally understandable. I'm trying to speak from your perspective, because you work in a very limited space for your projects, roads, buildings, or whatever it might be, metros. And because of that, a lot of trees will have to be sacrificed. So I'm not here as a tree hugger or as an activist. I'm standing here as a professional who's trying to bring you a solution-oriented approach towards how you can manage trees best possible way in the infrastructure. At the same time, there's an increase in demand. You cannot just say, okay, I'm going to build 30 kilometers of metro and that's enough. You can't do that. You need to have 300 kilometers of metro in the city to meet the demand. And with that increasing demand, you have to do a lot of construction, and with those construction, you have to sacrifice a lot of trees, and everything goes hand in hand. So I'm just trying to do my best to create a balance on how we can go ahead with it. And throughout all this, the big challenge that I see, that there's a lack of tree knowledge, or there is more of misconception about trees going around. So just help me change that misconception for you. Okay, I want a little bit of audience participation once again. By show of hands, could you tell me how the tree roots grow? Is it option A, where the trees go deep within the canopy of the tree, or is it option B, it goes all the way around the area and not very deep? So how many of you think it's option A? Okay, not bad. Okay. How many of you think it's option B? My guess was right. So this is the misconception that's going on. Everyone thinks that tree roots are just within the canopy, and it goes very deep into the ground, which has been proved wrong by a lot of scientific journals and scientific papers. A lot of trees have their roots spreading laterally all across beyond the canopy of the tree. And it doesn't grow maybe beyond 1 to 1.5 meters or 2 meters at times. It doesn't go beyond that. But in certain cases, obviously, where there's dry and arid regions where there is lack of water, tree roots do go deeper down. But in urban environment, you will not have trees going down deeper than 1.5, or at the most 2 meters. So I hope I can have some consideration towards tree roots when you build your next project next to a tree. To bring it forward, so this is a common view that I come across when I'm walking on the streets in Mumbai. Not blaming anyone here, but we could have done better, right? These roots could have been saved, these trees could have been saved. They have been saved because above ground the tree looks fine, but you come out, you do a utility trench, you put in the utility, you fill up the trench, the roots are damaged, and the next monsoon, the trees are falling. So people are dying from falling trees as well now. So that's a very big problem we have in our construction industry. And I don't blame you, it's completely understandable because you have your other priorities and you need to know that the trees are protected in a way that it stays there for a longer time. But that doesn't happen every time. And that's why when we work with a lot of engineers and architects, the most common question that I get asked is, how close to the trees can I build? And this is the start of an avalanche basically for us. If you're asking this question, that means everything you have done before is wrong. What we expect or what we hope that you'll start asking is how much space would this tree need? Because your construction also has to go in hand with the environment. It's not just on the paper, it's not just on your presentation that you're doing a lot of environmental benefits, but also on the ground, the end user needs to benefit from your work. And that is what I'm trying to showcase here. To understand, to answer this question, a lot of engineers and architects do ask us how to do this, but we need to ask how much space would this tree need. So there is no one right answer to it. To understand the answer, I would like to take you to the phases of construction, which I'm sure you all are familiar with. First is the planning, followed by designing. Notice the change in colors as I go ahead. Then you have pre-construction stage, then you have construction, and then you have post-construction. So at what stage do you think the best tree preservation can be done? Is the planning and designing stage. If you don't think about trees in the planning and designing stage, you would definitely have lost the battle in the pre-construction and the construction stage. We get approached by a lot of companies to save their trees when they've already dug up a huge excavation pit right next to a tree, and they say, oh, mera tree gir jayega, please can you come and help me out? And like, can you fill up the pit for me, please? Then I can see what we can do. But that doesn't work, in real world, it doesn't work like that. So my urge, my prayer to all of you today here is, try and consider trees right from the planning and designing stage, because that makes a hell of a difference. Because we don't have a magic wand. We cannot come to a site and say, okay, this tree has been protected, it won't fall ever. But if you involve us right from the planning and designing stage, we can identify which trees can be kept and which trees cannot be kept. And if those trees are to be kept, how can they be kept in a more scientific and in a more comprehensive manner? So anything that happens during the construction and post-construction stage with the trees, it's already too late. So just to give you an overview of a project, imagine this is the project timeline, a project start and towards the end. A lot of times what happens, all engineers, architects, planners, they're hired right in the beginning of the project. And people like us, architects, ecologists, arborists, tree experts are hired towards the end of the project when things seem to be very shaky and they don't know what to do, the tree is dying, and that's when they run for help. So what we suggest, and what happens because of that, you do get the project completed, of course, but it's all done in a piecemeal. It's all just been brought together just for the sake of it. And from a tree's perspective, you have made a lot of a lot of chances you have missed in protecting the tree in the right way. Your project is completed, but it's in a very... So what we suggest is you collaborate at an early stage, get all the experts, including arborists, tree experts, from the planning and designing stage, and then you have a much better collaborative approach towards the project. So what do we do as an arborist for an infrastructure project? We conduct initial tree survey, we do impact assessment, we identify design conflicts, we define and enforce tree protection zones. We also help you optimize which trees to be removed and which to be retained, assist with changes in field, communicate with project managers on what needs to be done with the trees, and we also facilitate completion of projects. So we are there to help you out, not to stop your project. So what do you mean by initial field survey and impact assessment? So this is a typical plan of a tree survey. So on the right, you can see the trees are in green with the canopies marked. They are to be retained. The red line is the construction boundary where the excavation is going to happen, and all the trees inside are to be removed. So this is a very basic approach that we have when we get approached by people during the construction stage or just in the pre-construction stage. So there's hardly we can do anything. So we conduct a tree condition survey and we collect the data of the tree. We superimpose it on your project layout and we tell you which tree to remove and retain. But a better approach to this is doing an impact assessment. So we do a tree impact assessment or an arboriculture impact assessment, wherein we map each and every tree with their canopies, with their root protection zone. So this green line that you see, that's the canopy of the tree. The pink hatch that you see is the root protection area, on how much of the protection on ground the tree requires for your construction. Then we recommend which areas the ground protection is required, where the pruning is required. So all this planning is done, which the colors in red, the trees in red are the trees which need to go, because there is no way we can save that tree. If there is some design flexibility, yes, we can. In some areas, we have tried to keep the tree as much as possible. So this is what we try to help you out, help engineers and architects with regards to trees. It's called a tree impact assessment, and it also does a tree constraint study. So we identify areas where there's a lot of major conflict with the trees and the construction, and we help you minimize those conflicts. We give you tree and ground protection plans. We give you site guidance notes on how to go about it. We just don't talk about it. We just give you a proper methodology and a method statement about how to go about it. I'll just like to quickly show you a case study recently that we have done on how we have managed to retain this almost 80 to 100-year-old banyan tree in a school building project. This was in Chennai in 2021. And this was the plan given to us by the architect. They showed a tree in the middle of the building, and they said, okay, ye tree bachana hai. And we were like, this is not possible. We need to go back to the design board and come back with the better plans. But they said, no, everything is in place as usual. We have to go ahead with the plans now. So then we went on to the site, we did the assessment. This is what we came up with. So it's a very simple but very effective plan. The hatch in the yellow is where all the ground protection measure needs to go. And the hatch in the blue is where all the root protection measures needs to go. With all the measures we have given in the plan itself for the site engineers to quickly scan with a QR code, and they can see what needs to be done. Along with all the method statements is given. We also supply a method statement and also a manual for managing trees on development site. So people on the ground will know what to do exactly when the trees are there. So this is how we began with. We began with the tree pruning to contain the canopy within the building. It was a very ambitious building design. We also did exploratory trenching or pits to identify where the tree roots are, so as to not to disturb those tree roots, and change those piling locations within 2 to 3 feet away from the tree roots. This is what was done before the construction happened. And then during the construction, we tried to retain as much as canopy we could. Some of the canopy branches were passing through the cafeterias of the building and other parts of the building, and which were, thanks to the architect who allowed us to do that. And then for the ground protection around the tree, we did a lot of interventions, vertical mulching, improved the quality of the soil, decompacted the soil. Then we laid out this load distributing material on the ground so that, because of the pedestrian walking, a lot of soil compaction happens, which is not good for the tree. So we use these load distributing modules, which helps you distribute the load of the pedestrians and vehicles. We also put in perforated pipes all along the root area for allowing exchange of air and moisture. So as to, the tree will not realize if there is a layer on top of it, but it will continue to grow as naturally. So this is to protect the root area. Then on the top, the area was flushed, it was filled up with permeable paver blocks, allowing air and moisture to go into the root zone. And this is what it was in 2023. This is January 2025. The tree is standing there, it's doing well. And this is the view from the canopy for the students to see while they're studying. So I think this is going to be a big example, a very important example for us to understand that how trees can be integrated in infrastructure projects. Just to a quick conclusion, sir. Trees are also infrastructure. Please consider trees as infrastructure, as an asset, not as a liability, and try to be part of the change. Try to ask the question how much area that the tree would need, rather than how close I can build to the tree. Include tree assessments in planning phase itself. That is very, very important, and have some design flexibility. And this can be only done when you include tree assessments in planning phase. At the construction stage, you cannot change any design, so that might create a lot of unwanted decisions. And hire right experts and right technology for your tree management in your projects. That's all from me. Thank you so much. Yeah.